You have paid into Social Security through every single paycheck for 4 decades. You have never missed a payment. You have never filed a fraudulent claim. You have never cost this agency a single dollar that was not yours to receive. And now, when you need to do something as routine as changing the bank account where your monthly check is deposited, the United States government requires you to either navigate a multi-step digital identity verification system in English, or physically travel to a federal office that may be an hour away, that requires an appointment, that is understaffed to the point where its own employees say service has collapsed, and that the agency is simultaneously trying to close. This is not a hypothetical. This is the operational reality of the Social Security Administration in 2026, and the people most affected by it are not people who did anything wrong. They are elderly. They are often non-native English speakers. They frequently lack reliable internet access or the technical fluency to navigate government websites, and they are in disproportionate numbers exactly the Chinese American immigrant seniors who built their American lives on the promise that the system they paid into would be there for them when they needed it. The promise has not been broken, but the door to collect on it has been made significantly harder to open. This chapter tells you exactly how to open it anyway. What the policy actually requires in 2026, the identity verification requirement that took effect the 14th of April 2025 remains fully in force in 2026. Understanding precisely what it covers, and what it does not, is the foundation for navigating it without wasting a trip or missing a deadline. Under the updated policy, individuals applying for Social Security disability insurance, Medicare, or supplemental security income who cannot use a personal My Social Security account can complete their claim entirely over the telephone without needing to come into an office. These 3 categories remain phone, eligible for initial applications. If you are applying for disability benefits, Medicare, or SSI, you can still start and complete your application by phone. Everything else requires either online identity verification through your My Social Security account or an in-person visit to a field office. This includes applying for retirement benefits, applying for survivor's benefits, changing your direct deposit banking information, and any administrative transaction requiring identity confirmation. Individuals who cannot use the online My Social Security services can start their claim for retirement benefits on the telephone, but the claim cannot be completed until their identity is verified in person. The agency recommends calling to request an in-person appointment to begin and complete the claim in one interaction. The direct deposit change rule is the one that catches the most people off guard. If you need to move your monthly Social Security payment to a different bank account, because you are switching banks, because your current account is being closed, because a family care situation has changed, you cannot make that change over the phone. You must do it online through your My Social Security account or appear in person at a field office. The agency will expedite processing all direct deposit change requests, both in person and online, to 1 business day. The speed of processing is not the problem. Access to the process is. Why the online alternative is not available to everyone. The SSA's answer to every concern raised about the in-person requirement is consistent. Create a My Social Security online account, and most transactions can be handled digitally without ever visiting a field office. That answer is technically accurate. It is also practically unreachable for a significant portion of the Chinese American elderly immigrant population, for reasons that are structural and entirely predictable. The My Social Security account creation process requires a valid email address, a U.S. phone number capable of receiving text messages or authentication calls, the ability to navigate a multi-step English language web interface, and successful completion of an identity verification process that uses credit history and public records to confirm who you are. For someone whose credit history is thin because they immigrated in their 50s or 60s, whose name in government records does not match their current identification documents due to transliteration inconsistencies between Chinese naming conventions and English romanization systems, or whose phone is a basic model that does not support certain authentication applications. This process fails regularly, even when attempted correctly and in good faith. Surveys consistently show that millions of seniors lack reliable internet access, either due to the absence of broadband service or because they do not own a computer or smartphone. A Social Security claims specialist serving as local union president in New York described the situation plainly. A lot of people cannot get past the ID verification on login.gov, and just because someone has a cell phone does not mean they are capable of creating an online account. For a 76-year-old Cantonese speaker in Flushing whose name in SSA records is a romanization that does not match her current passport spelling, whose U.S. credit file is thin because she and her husband managed finances primarily in cash for their first decade in America, and whose phone is a basic model her children set up for calling family, the online account pathway carries a meaningful probability of failure at multiple steps. This is not a description of someone doing anything wrong. It is a description of a substantial portion of the Chinese American elderly immigrant community, and it is exactly the population for whom the in-person alternative was supposed to be the safety net. A safety net that is itself being dismantled at the same time the policy is creating more demand for it. The field office problem, a system that cannot meet the demand, it is creating the structural contradiction at the heart of the 2026 identity verification policy, is this. The government simultaneously increased the requirement for in-person visits and reduced the capacity to conduct them. DOGE listed 47 SSA field office leases set to end across the country, 26 of which were expected to close in 2025 alone, spanning 18 states. These include offices serving communities in Texas, California, New York, North Carolina, Florida, and other states with significant Chinese American populations. The agency is currently at a 25-year staffing low. This understaffing has led to backlogs, high phone wait times, and limited appointment-only availability for in-person services. An internal SSA operating plan for fiscal year 2026 sets a target of 50% fewer field office visitors compared to fiscal year 2025, no more than 15 million total visits, down from more than 31.6 million in the prior year. The agency is not building capacity to absorb more in-person visits. It is engineering a system with dramatically fewer of them, while simultaneously implementing a policy that requires in-person visits for transactions previously completed by phone. In a survey of SSA employees conducted in late December 2025 and early January 2026, nearly 65% reported that service quality had declined in the past 12 months, while 70% reported that service speed had declined. These are the workers who are supposed to be delivering the in-person services the policy now requires. The downstream consequences are already measurable. In the first half of 2025, the number of claimants filing for retirement benefits earlier than planned spiked. In AR polling, 20% of those who filed earlier than planned cited reduced staff or limited access to in-person services as a reason, while 17% cited difficulty reaching SSA online or by phone. Filing for retirement benefits before your full retirement age permanently reduces your monthly benefit for the rest of your life. The access barriers being created by staffing cuts and office closures are not administrative inconveniences. They are pushing people into permanent financial decisions with lifetime consequences. Acceptable documents for in-person identity verification. If an in-person visit is unavoidable, thorough preparation is the difference between a successful appointment and a wasted trip followed by a second appointment weeks later. The SSA accepts a specific hierarchy of identity documents, and arriving without the right combination will result in an inconclusive visit. For in-person identity verification, the SSA accepts several categories of primary and secondary proofs of identity, including a driver's license, passport, alien, or voter registration card, or union card. The SSA maintains a full priority list of acceptable identity documents on its website. For the Chinese American community specifically, the most commonly applicable document combinations are the following. For naturalized U.S. citizens, your U.S. passport or certificate of naturalization as primary identity, combined with a state-issued driver's license or ID card as secondary. For lawful permanent residents, your green card as primary, combined with a driver's license or state ID card. For individuals on non-immigrant visas, your passport with current visa stamp, and I-94 record as primary, combined with a secondary document. Name consistency matters more than most people expect. If your name in SSA records was entered years ago based on an earlier document and does not match the name on the identification you bring, the verification may fail or require additional documentation to resolve. Before your visit, call the field office or check your My Social Security account to confirm the exact name SSA has on file. Bring any documents that trace your name history, prior passports, marriage certificates, court orders, or earlier SSA issued documents, especially if romanization of your Chinese name has varied across different documents issued at different times. How to create a My Social Security account, step by step for family members, helping an elderly parent or relative set up an online account. The following sequence reflects the process most likely to succeed without triggering account lockouts or failed verification cycles. Use a desktop or laptop computer, not a mobile phone. The mobile experience is functional. but more prone to session timeouts that interrupt the verification process at inconvenient points. Before beginning, gather everything needed to complete the session in one sitting: the person's social security number, their date of birth exactly as it appears in SSA records, their current mailing address as SSA has it on file, a U.S. phone number capable of receiving a text message or voice call for the two-factor authentication code, and a valid email address. During account creation, the system will ask identity verification questions drawn from credit history and public records. These questions may include asking which of several addresses the person has lived at, or which of several lenders they have had accounts with. For elderly immigrants with thin U.S. credit histories, these questions may reference records that predate immigration or transactions the person does not remember clearly. Answer as accurately as possible. And if the automated verification fails, do not immediately attempt it a third time. The system locks accounts after repeated failures within a short window. If the online path fails, shift to the in-person alternative rather than continuing to retry. Once the account is active, immediately set up backup recovery options, a secondary email address, and a backup phone number. Then navigate to Message Center Preferences and opt in to electronic delivery of COLA notices and other SSA correspondence. Beneficiaries who created accounts by the 19th of November 2025 were able to view their 2026 COLA notice online in early December, several weeks before mailed notices arrived. For 2027, the equivalent opt-in deadline will fall in mid-November 2026. When the online process fails and the office is far for families where the nearest SSA office is not reachable by public transportation, where the person being helped cannot drive, or where office closures have extended travel distances to an impractical range, pursue these options in order. First, call 1-800-772-1213 to schedule a telephone pre-screening appointment. While you cannot complete a retirement or survivor's benefit application entirely by phone, you can begin the intake process, confirm what documents you need, and determine the minimum time the in-person visit will require. Doing this groundwork by phone reduces the duration of the office visit and eliminates the risk of arriving with the wrong documents. Second, use the SSA office locator at ssa.gov/locator to identify all service points near you. Not only traditional field offices, some communities have SSA mobile service units, partnership service locations at libraries or community centers, or outreach programs that visit senior centers and immigrant community organizations. These alternative access points are not uniformly available, but they exist in some metropolitan areas and are worth checking before making a long trip to a traditional office. Third, contact your congressional representative's district office. Every member of Congress maintains a constituent services staff whose job includes helping residents navigate federal agency access problems. For elderly Chinese, American constituents facing documented barriers to accessing SSA services, a call to the Constituent Services line can sometimes accelerate resolution of problems that are otherwise indefinitely delayed in SSA's general queue. This option is underused by the Chinese American community and is more effective than most people expect. Fourth, contact immigrant and senior services organizations in your area. In metropolitan areas with large Chinese American populations, organizations including Chinese for Affirmative Action in San Francisco, the Chinatown Service Center in Los Angeles, and various Asian community development corporations in New York provide direct assistance with SSA access problems, including accompanying elderly community members to field offices, providing on-site translation, and helping with the online account creation process. The scam crisis running parallel to the real policy, the confusion generated by the new identity verification requirements, has created an immediate secondary crisis that is hitting the Chinese American elderly community with particular severity. A surge in fraud impersonating official SSA identity verification requests. Scammers are exploiting the chaos and confusion created by these changes. Fraudulent emails from fake accounts impersonate Social Security, asking recipients to verify their identity to continue receiving benefits. These communications are sophisticated. They replicate the visual design of official SSA materials. They reference the real policy changes by name to establish credibility. They create urgency by claiming that failure to verify within a short window will result in suspended payments. For an elderly Chinese American recipient who is already anxious about real changes to SSA requirements, a convincing fraudulent message hitting at exactly the right moment of uncertainty is highly effective. The rules that protect you from these scams are absolute and have no exceptions. The SSA will never send you an unsolicited email asking you to click a link to verify your identity. The SSA will never call you demanding your social security number or bank account information. The SSA will never request payment in gift cards, wire transfers, or cryptocurrency for any reason. If any communication by phone, email, or text message claims to be from Social Security and creates urgency around verifying your identity or risk losing your benefits, the correct response is to hang up or delete it, and then call 1-800-772-1213 directly from a number you dial yourself to confirm whether any action is actually required on your account. Share these rules with every elderly family member in your network. The combination of legitimate policy confusion and bad actors exploiting that confusion means that the community most in need of help navigating the new SSA system is simultaneously the community most exposed to those who profit from the chaos surrounding it.